Okay, so today we're going to take a look at the farmer job. The Stone Titans have grown quite a bit in the last month or so, and with more teammates, there's a greater demand on the food and drink supply coming out of the kitchen, and of course the kitchen orders a lot of their ingredients and stuff from the farmers. So we're taking applications for new farmers, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the farmer's job here briefly to give you an insight as to what farmers do. So this is the farm. This is where farmers spend most of their time. On this farm in particular, it's one of two farms. And here we have the barn and the shed and the silo and the sheep pen and pig pen here in the back and the cow's pen here. And a little mushroom shed, mushroom hut for growing mushrooms, and the chicken coop. So farmers will come into the barn first thing in their day, and they'll check to see if they've got any receiving, and often there's work orders here that are requests for ingredients such as raw meat or pork or vegetables such as carrots and potatoes and whatnot. And while they're working on those work orders, and they'll receive the work orders, they'll put them in here, and then they'll start accumulating the ingredients list that have been ordered, typically by the chefs. And it requires a lot of either breeding of the livestock or harvesting of some of the vegetables in the garden patch at the back here. We'll just bop down the path and take a look. So here you can see we've got potatoes and carrots in the back, and watermelon and pumpkins. And these are all things that the chefs will use to whip up food and drink that get distributed around the server to the various job sites and offices. So we go through a lot of food and drinks. So farmers will tend to that stuff and try to get as much of it going as possible, and then they'll store it in the various storage chests here in the barn, whether it be seeds or veggies or meats or wool, or in the shed where there's some other items such as eggs, apples, pumpkins and watermelon, sugar cane, mushrooms, flowers when surveyors order flowers from the farmers for dye, leather with some overflow of feathers here too as well. So we use a lot of this stuff, and in the silo we store the wheat in the silo. So chickens are used primarily, bred and used for meat, eggs, and feathers. Feathers are typically used by the hunters for arrow making. Eggs, the chef will order eggs for making omelets, and chicken meat is often used, obviously, for cooked chicken coming out of the kitchen. And mushrooms are great for mushroom soup or mushroom stew, whatever it's called. Cows, we use a lot of leather. Porters use leather for writing or creating the books used in the post office for writing work orders, and also the hunters use a lot of leather for light armor. And cows obviously also have steak, which we consume. Sheep are in this pen or have been killed off, and we need to get some more. And their wool is used for, often ordered by the surveyors for surveyor markers, which are kind of like flags on the ground. Their wool is used for creating those markers, it's important to our expansion process, where surveyors have to mark out potential deposits of ore or gems to signify to other people on the team that here's the spot, or this is how big it is, or here's the area that you need to dig within, or here's where a rail line will go. Pigs drop pork chops. Obviously we eat that stuff, and then same with potatoes, carrots, pumpkins and watermelons, and some of this stuff is also used in drinks. So wheat is used to make bread and a few other recipes, and then we've got some other ingredients in the shed that come from the garden and another farm, used for food and drink. So really important to have farmers that are good at the whole agricultural aspect. And this is the farmer's tracking system. So when they're ordering stuff, whether it be fertilizers for growing crops or flowers, buckets for milking the cows, and hose for doing the gardens, and axes for killing chickens, or shears for shearing sheep, bottles for producing milk that heads to it's sent to the kitchen. They use blunderbuss to take down the cows and get the meat and leather, and then they can order ammo from the miners, and then here's their own food and drink requests from the kitchen. And this is where they store the fertilizer and other tools that they'll use pertaining to the job. And then farmers have the hayloft up here where they can sleep in the barn. Now let's take a look at the other farm that's actually at a junction, so we call it Reed Junction. And there's a few other things that can be farmed out there. So it's a little bit of a trip, so the farmers get to do a little bit of little traveling between the two different farms, back and forth. So that's on track 2 back. So we'll take a ride out there now. We're coming up on the cafe and the kitchen back here where the chef works. So this is where a lot of the ingredients end up going. So here we are pulling into Reed Junction. And the farmers share a building with the porters, who also do portering out of here as well. So here's some other stuff that gets farmed here. Farmers have the wheat field, the apple tree, the apple tree orchard, some jungle trees growing some cocoa on it, cactus farm, and then sugarcane farm. Sugarcane is ordered by the chefs for sugar used in recipes for various foods, as well as sugarcane being used to make paper. So the porters order a lot of sugarcane so that they can make paper to create the books that are used in work orders. Cactus is used in drinks, and also used to make dye, green dye, which is used by the surveyors to make flags. And then cocoa is obviously ingredients in some food and drink recipes. And same with apples, apple juice, and apples being edible. And then you got the wheat, which makes bread and is also used heavily by the farmers for breeding the livestock. And another thing to note about farming is that some of this work is very seasonal. Wheat doesn't yield nearly as much during the spring and the summer, but during the fall, wheat is in season. So farmers tend to do their work in the wheat fields in the fall when everything's brown. They'll come in and really pound away on the wheat and grow a lot of wheat and harvest that stuff. And then other things, for example, the sheep shearing, you're going to get a lot more sheep breeding and stuff when they've got grass at their disposal all the time. So in the spring, when the grass is popping up, it's spring right now, so there's grass everywhere. When the grass is popping up, the sheep on the other farm are eating quite heartily, and they're producing a lot of wool. So farmers tend to do their farming seasonally and strategically based on the time of year. So that's a quick look at all that's involved in farming, and we're hoping to get a couple more farmers who are dedicated to the whole agricultural scene on this survival team. Having good farmers makes a huge difference in keeping everybody happy, healthy, well fed, and working hard. Thanks for watching.